What is up, Waffle Gang? I do hope you are well. My name is Mark, and today we're checking out some r/AmI the butthole, of course. And if you'd like to skip the initial waffle, timestamps are in the description and along the timeline below. But if you are new here, please consider hitting that like, that subscribe, and maybe that notification bell too, as it massively helps out this channel. And just a huge thank you for spending 20 minutes or so out of your day with the channel, getting involved. It means the absolute world. Yesterday we did have a couple of member updates. We had a new member, Joyce Valaquez, and we also had Crafty Inc. with the rejoin over on YouTube. Thank you so much for your love, support, and time, and let's get straight in to today's stories. Much love, guys. Now, our first story comes from Fit Cauliflower 8854. Am I the arsehole for yelling at a friend after she passively aggressively made me a vegetarian meal? What a title that one is. The best way you can describe my diet is flexitarian. Specifically, most of the time when I'm in control of my food, I do not eat meat. However, when I'm being catered for, I always eat whatever I'm given, because I don't like being awkward and appreciate the effort and additional food miles that go into preparing a separate veggie dish. As I fully ate meat until 4 years ago, I'm very happy with my approach. My friends know this is how I am, because they see me eating a lot and it's pretty obvious. They've asked me why I do this, and I've replied, reasons as above, and pretty common reasons for being mostly veggie. Other than when I'm asked, I never talk about my diet choices. Recently, when I was at one of my friend's houses, she made everyone else a lamb dish and made a single portion of vegetable lasagna for me. It was delicious and I thanked her, but insisted she really didn't need to do that. I'm more than happy to eat the same as everyone else. She replied with, "Why can't you just be grateful that I made that effort for you? I did this to prove that we can cater for you being vegetarian, and you need to stop using our meals as an excuse to eat meat. You need to either be full-on vegetarian or full-on omnivore, as what you're doing now pisses off everyone. What you do means you can be smug about being vegetarian, but you still get to eat meat. You also imply we are incapable of being good hosts and providing a veggie alternative. It's obvious that you think you're holier than thou, saving the animals but also saving us from any extra work and getting to treat yourself to the occasional meat dish in the process. Make your mind up." I could tell this is how she felt before, but she'd never laid it out quite like that. I yelled at her that my diet choices have nothing to do with her, and I can eat meat whenever I want or don't want, and it's obviously her own insecurities that are making her find fault in my reasonable approach. She replied saying that she can't believe I'm not grateful that she made me a separate dish, and that I should be thanking her for proving that I can be a full-time vegetarian, and that this proves I use other people as an excuse to eat meat. I stormed out after this. Edit, I've never claimed to be vegetarian. Yes, I am an omnivore, I agree. They only know I don't eat much meat from watching me. We spend a lot of time together. It's pretty obvious when you always go for falafel. I maintain I've made it clear to them I'm not veggie, and don't expect to be treated as such. Am I the arsehole? And we're going to move straight to the comments on this one with RB1327 saying everyone sucks here. Obviously she was out of line for those remarks, especially in her position as a host and in front of others. Your yelling response was in kind, so also arsehole behaviour. However, her comments make me wonder whether you are grandstanding about your diet more than you let on here. Lots of people eat meat in some meals but not all, but wouldn't think to set themselves apart as anything but omnivore, if absolutely pressed. The term flexitarian is a somewhat pompous term that you think elevates you above that. And Queen of Anything says, not the arsehole, why the hell are you getting so much hate? My diet is basically the same as yours. I never realised it would trigger so many people into this pick a side and stick to its stance. Omnivore versus vegetarian versus vegan is not a competition or a sport where you have to pick teams. Your friend clearly has a stick up her ass about being smug vegetarians. All these "you're the arsehole" comments act like she was doing a nice thing for you, but her rant makes it obvious she was using the separate vegetarian dish to punish you. You are not the arsehole for getting mad at her judgy ass, and you have nothing to prove to her or anyone else. And Rit post Rit says info, are you smug about being mostly vegetarian? And Fit says, I'm not at all, and I know I've never implied as such. To which Rit post Rit replies again saying, I don't know, I think you need to sit with that one a bit. It's possible you are being smug. Why would your friend have gotten so angry? I just read through all your comments. The only way your friends would notice your dietary habits is if you brought their attention to it. If I go out to dinner with someone and they get a vegetarian meal, I just think, I guess that's what they're in the mood for. The only way they would know is if you said something like, I'm having XYZ tonight because I'm intentionally reducing my consumption of meat. And I'm No Man Island says, not the arsehole, but you were going to get a lot of shit for it here anyway, because Reddit can't stand a grey area. And Sir Nando says, oh my god, thank you, this tastes delicious, thank you again, that's all you needed to say. And AmITheA says, not the arsehole, she doesn't get to decide whether you eat meat or not. You thanked her, so clearly were grateful, and she immediately accused you of not being grateful. People that dishonest are people I would avoid being around, and that's before getting into the rest of her bizarre, largely incoherent rant. And now, I turn this one to you guys. What would you do in this situation if you was OP, you went to dinner, and you was the only one with a separate dish? Would you approach the matter or not? Let me know in the comments below. And our next story comes from a throwaway account. Am I the arsehole for reporting my neighbour's dog to animal control? We, me 41 female and 43 male, live at the end of a cul-de-sac. We have a cat who is 11 and we built him a catio off the side of the house where he hangs out and bird watches and suns himself. About 6 months ago, someone in the neighbourhood started walking their dog on our street. At first we didn't know where they lived, but they live right off our road and to the right. Anytime they walk the dog, he's off the leash, and soon as he sees my cat, he runs through our yard barking and trying to get into the catio. After the second time this happened, we began to ask this person repeatedly to leash their dog and keep him off our yard. Their response was to demand we put our cat inside while they were walking the dog and gave us the times they normally walk him. We said that didn't work for us and they needed to keep a better eye on their animals. We have been keeping an eye on this person, and anytime we see them coming up the road, we work from home, we make sure to keep a close eye. The dog is still not leashed, still tries to come after my cat, and now have stopped picking up after him when he poops. This includes our other neighbours' yards as well. Yesterday, we were all sitting outside and they came up the street again. The dog saw my cat on his catio and he ran straight for my house barking. In the process, he knocked down a neighbour's child who was sitting on a lawn chair. This time we had had enough and we told the person that we're calling animal control, and we did. Animal control asked for copies of our video doorbell footage and we gave it to them. Not 15 minutes ago, the person came up to my house screaming and calling me an arsehole because not only are they being fined for the leash law violations, the dog is being quarantined to ensure that it is not dangerous. The person told me that the dog is her son's ESA for his autism and called me a monster for what we did. Am I the arsehole for reporting the dog to animal control? And there is a little update to this as well, which we will cover after the initial comments, but absolutely not the arsehole, man. I mean, running onto your yard, barking at your cat off the leash, it just doesn't sound like it's in control. If you have your dog, you just need to be in control of your dog. And I don't know, this is just me personally, I'd never take like Poppy off the leash at the moment if like just walking up someone's street or anything like that. I'd only do it like in fields and stuff. I don't know if other people do that, but it's just something that I wouldn't do personally. As there's just so many little things down the street that could go wrong, like a child come out and startle the dog, or, the dog just suddenly wander into the road and get knocked over. There's just so many dangers. That's just not worth the risk. When you step back, and that's the way I always look at life, and I go, is this worth the risk? Bit of a boring way to live, I know, but that's the way I live. And the fact that it knocked over a little girl as well in her own yard off her chair, it's just, out of control in my opinion. So I think you did the right thing. But Vance Mason says, not the arsehole at all. And this right here illustrates the issues of equating an ESA with a service dog. ESAs have little to no requirements for training and are a potential hazard because their handlers are often idiots. This dog has repeatedly shown a lack of training and aggression. For its own sake, hopefully the owners get their heads out of their asses and leash it. And Visual Character says, not the arsehole. 1. They haven't done anything to keep the dog off your property. 2. They aren't trying to stop him from chasing your cat. If it got to your cat, who knows what could happen. 3. They aren't cleaning up after the dog when it goes on someone else's lawn, which by itself could be a misdemeanor/crime. 4. They didn't try to stop the dog after it knocked down a child. Again, they are lucky that's all that happened. The dog could have seriously hurt that kid. 5. Edited. If this is a true ESA, then the owners seem to be taking advantage of having one. Just being an ESA does not give it a free pass on basic training. And Mistake Nutshell says, giant not the arsehole, the dog is a danger. It literally couldn't even control itself around a cat on private property to the point it hurt a child. The owner not picking up after the dog is also illegal, not to mention disgusting. If they can't take care of the dog, they shouldn't have it in the first place. Emotional support animals are a lot different from actual disability dogs. If they want an emotional support animal, they can get something low maintenance or live without one. It is still a living creature. It still needs to be trained and looked after properly. It sure as hell isn't doing its job if it's hurting children. And Mr. Silk says, not the arsehole. Entitled people always call you the arsehole when their entitlement is put in check. The neighbour could have avoided all this with a $10 dog leash and following the law. Now the poor dog pays the price by being placed in quarantine because the owner is an entitled arsehole. Call animal control every time this happens in the future as well. That's the only way this lady is going to learn. And here is the update. Post update, thank you all for all your comments, we truly appreciate them, and thank you all for the education on the difference between ESA and a service animal. We both feel very ignorant for not knowing the difference between the two. I did call animal control and inquired about the poor dog. Honestly, I've been crying about it since I found out. The last thing we would ever want is to take away a child's pet from them. It's just sad. The dog is doing fine, he doesn't need anything and is apparently very sweet, just very hyper and very badly trained. The outlook is good though. He's been removed from his owners. Apparently we were not the only ones who complained about it. They said that he will quarantine for 1 week to test for aggression and illness and will go to a foster home. We have donated some money and said if the fosters need anything to please let us know, and we're more than happy to pay at any expense. The neighbours are furious with us. They have been camped outside all day with signs calling us bad neighbours and dog nappers. According to our neighbour across the street, they've started a fundraiser for a new puppy and are going to the local media. The little girl who got knocked over on the chair is fine. She has a small scrape on her elbow, but is not seriously injured or will risk scarring. Mr. Kitty is also fine. He is currently sitting on the entertainment centre, staring at a chipmunk and contemplating life's mysteries, as cats do. And now I turn this one to you guys. What would you do if you was in OP's position and someone was walking down the street and their dog was behaving this way? Would you call animal control or not? Let me know in the comments below. And our next story comes from C Campaign. Am I the arsehole for finally snapping at my neighbour who wanted to be best friends? Me 35, my husband 36 and our son 10 moved into a new house 3 months ago, and we have an old dog and a cat. The day we moved in, our neighbours came over. We'll say Karen 30s and Ken 30s. This aggravated me as we're in the middle of unloading stuff, organising our house, etc. and Karen wants to play 20 questions. She declares we are going to be best friends like the previous owners. Apparently, Karen and Jill both grew up in these houses and were BFFs their whole lives. When they got married, their parents gifted them the houses and moved away. 6 months ago, Jill's husband got a promotion out of state. We bought the house and Karen thinks we need to continue the BFF tradition. They have 2 kids, 11 female and 5 male. Karen wants the kids to play. The daughter is super girly and wants to do dress-up tea parties and hates gaming. The son is young, likes Paw Patrol and isn't allowed to play video games. My son has no interest in playing with them. Karen tried pushing me into making them take part in their interest, but I told her they aren't compatible. Then Karen wanted our dogs to play. Well, Karen's dog is really energetic. Our old guy is a lazy curmudgeon. I don't know if I got that right. That wants no part of that. I tell her no, then she asks me to let our cat outside so it can come over to her house and bond with her family. I tell her no, she isn't an outside cat. She wants us to get mini pedis, get matching highlights and go shopping. I hate mini pedis, I dye my own hair, wild colours and I buy my stuff online. She also wants our husbands to be BFF, but they are also very opposite. These are all legit reasons. The thing is, I just have no interest in being friends. First, I am introverted homebody, so I'm happy being an all lone wolf over here. Second, Karen is a gossipy, mean-spirited Christian conservative. We aren't. She is free to do and believe whatever she wants, but our houses are just not going to mesh even if I wanted them to. Last week she stopped me and asked if we're going to church with them. I just said I didn't know, we've been busy. Well, she gets pissy and says I'm making this difficult for her and being rude. We're supposed to be BFFs and I'm not working with her or being open enough. We haven't spent any time together and we really need to so we can discuss when we can vacation together. So I said, Karen, we're not going to vacation together. We aren't having play dates with the kids, animals or husbands. None of us are compatible and I'm not interested in being your stand-in BFF. She blew up, screaming and crying. It wasn't fair to not continue the tradition. I just let her get it out. Before turning around to leave, I said, oh, by the way, we're atheists. She screamed and ran inside. My husband says I'm in the right and they are crazy. My parents think I could have handled it better and the last part wasn't needed. Most of our friends thinks it's hilarious, but 2 think she was just being nice and I was out of line. They're Christian, so that might be at play. Edit, I was at the character limit, so let me just clarify some things. I know this is a crazy pants, but I'm being honest here. I was confused and shocked by the whole thing myself. I've never encountered this before, and my friends found it funny because it's so out there and told me to post it. Karen seemed really entrenched with maintaining the BFF status quo with her neighbours. She has other friends, as she has mentioned to me, and I've seen some come over. But it seems she wanted me to fill the role Jill left behind. I tried being as kind and vague as I could be until it was too much. I wonder what outsiders would think. Oh, and the only reason I mentioned the friends' differing opinion because they were Christian is because they told me that's why they felt different. Thanks, guys. Now, this is one of those crazy ones that's verging on the whole entitled parents vibe sort of thing, and it's sort of it gets you thinking, oh, is it real? Is it not? I don't know. But I've had a very... not quite as extreme as this one, but someone was pushing themselves on me. Like, it was a bit of the same situation at the start. I moved into this place, and the next door neighbor was immediately on my back. Like, I went out into the garden, they was literally leaning on the fence saying, oh, how are you doing? How are you moving in? And that was all nice at first. But as it came on, every time I'd go outside, suddenly their door would swing open, and they'd lean on the fence and just start talking. I'm like, I'm introverted as well, and I'm like, I just don't want this, you know. In the nicest possible way. I love friendly neighbours and I love being friendly to people, but sometimes you just want your own space, especially in your own garden, right? And this person just kept leaning on the fence all the time and trying to chat to me, and it's like, oh, please just leave me alone. And this will sound really harsh, but in the end I got an 8-foot fence. I was like, nah, I'm not dealing with this no more. Sometimes I just want to sit in the garden and stare at the sky. And I can't do that when there's someone looking down at me. It just doesn't work, right? But let's have a look at some of the comments to see what they say. So Ouija Max says, oh wow, she sounds pretty crazy, right? Not the arsehole, it's totally unfortunate that you had to end up having such a firm convo with her. But I don't think you've got through to her in any other way. It's really odd behaviour on her part to want to be BFFs just because you're living in that house. Very full on. I'm pretty sure to calm down with her and she'd get over it. Best to keep her at arm's length. And Logan DeLuca says, not the arsehole, she needs to take a chill pill, yikes. She sounds like she obviously has not any friends, and it's probably because of how pushy she is. And Swimming Laura says, now we know why Jill moved. Not the arsehole. And Tibbletab says, not the arsehole, you're welcome to have healthy boundaries, and one of those boundaries is not invite crazy into your life. She needs to get over herself. And Camarine says, everyone sucks here. Karen is obviously pushy and overexcited, but I wouldn't want to live near you either. You have a problem with an 11-year-old being girly. You have a problem with a 5-year-old liking Paw Patrol. Another way to write this scenario is new neighbor Karen is inviting your child to take part in new activities with her children, and instead of politely declining, you scream at her and make it obvious you don't want to interact with her because of her religion. I have trouble believing this is real because it sounds like it was written by a 15-year-old who doesn't want to play with a new neighbor kid. And Morgaine of Avalon says, I'm going to say, Small, you're the arsehole. I understand pushy people like that are really hard to deal with, and sometimes you just have to lay the shit down. I mean, your planning vacation together is a little batshit crazy, but the last comment wasn't necessary. I think she got the message. And the Vortexian Bolt says, you're the arsehole. Seriously, dude, you should have just suggested you start off a little slower, and if you really think there's no way you could be friends, you could at least be nice about it when you let her down. You probably made her feel really bad, especially because it seems like she's just looking for someone to fill the hole the previous occupant left. And now I turn this crazy one to you guys. What do you guys think of this situation, and how would you deal with it? Did OP go too far? Let me know in the comments below. And just a pre-warning on our next story, it has mentions of like a child passing away. So if you don't want to hear this story, this will be the end of the video for you, just to let you know. So I just want to give you that pre-warning there. And this story comes from Realistic Citron. Am I the arsehole for refusing to get a birthday gift for a dead child? So I, 21 female, have been really struggling recently. I got fired from my job 8 months ago and haven't been able to find anywhere else that could hire me because of my disability. I have a 3-year-old daughter, and her father, who my daughter has never met, got arrested in December, and so I don't get any more financial support. We are currently just moving into different Airbnbs because my college dorms are closed, and I doubt I'll be able to live there anyway with a child. My parents had offered to take my daughter but refused to let me stay with them. They kicked me out when I turned 18, and I'm not going to go let my daughter live 8 hours away from me. Well, my sister's daughter had been sick for a long time with a heart condition. I had never met her, but I heard about her a lot. She was able to get a heart transplant, but her body rejected the heart and she passed away last week. Yesterday was her 6th birthday. My parents decided to send gifts like they would have done if she was still here, like a Barbie or a dress. My parents called me and asked if I had sent her a gift yet, and I said I really can't right now. My mum started screaming at me over the phone and called me a lot of mean words, saying I don't care about my niece and my sister. I'm not sure if I would be able to send them a gift even if she was alive. I said to my mum I could send her something small like a little ball or something, but she told me that that was disrespectful. So far my sister hasn't said anything to me, and I'm not even sure if she will like my parents doing that. I feel so bad for her and I'm willing to support her any way she needs, but in my current situation, I'm struggling to feed my own child, and I don't think I should prioritise sending a gift to my sister that she may not even want over feeding and clothing my own child. Am I the arsehole? And there's a very small edit which we cover straight after the comments. So Hellion says, not the arsehole. Honestly, I find the whole idea of sending birthday gifts for a recently dead child very strange and somewhat insensitive and inappropriate. If I had a child that passed, I think receiving toys they'd never play with would just trigger me into being sadder. Who does that? I think sending flowers and a card for condolences would be a better compromise and might smooth the situation over. If money is tight, maybe just a handwritten letter of condolences to show you care. And Determined Arrow says, not the arsehole, not the arsehole at all. That said, maybe send your sister a heartfelt card. That may mean so much more to her. And Shan Gibb says, not the arsehole, call your sister, check in on her. If it feels right, explain the situation, see what she thinks. I wouldn't think that she'd want those gifts sent after a child has passed. And Myra says, nope, call your sister, talk to her, empathise with her, explain your situation. And Dukel says, not the arsehole, your mum is obviously grieving about the loss of her grandchild, and when some people grieve, they can be unreasonable over simple things. Call and talk to your sister, offer your condolences, sending the gift would be strange in this situation. And then the small edit says, just got off the phone with my sister. She said she likes the gift giving idea, and my parents had asked her if she'd be okay to do, and she said yes. I didn't know that when writing this though. She said that she may keep the toys to put in at a memorial or give them some other kids she knows at the children's hospital. However, she doesn't want me to feel required to do it, and it's not an obligation. My parents do think I'm the arsehole though. And now I turn this one to you guys. What do you guys think of the situation? Let me know in the comments below. Now once again guys, thank you for being here today. Thank you for joining me in a story or two and being involved with the channel. And it means the absolute world to me. I cannot express how much it means. And I can't believe we're also approaching 300 members on YouTube. It's crazy level support. Thank you so much for that. I cannot believe that. Anyway, I will see you guys in the next one. Take care guys. Much love.